Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on which part of the world you are. I am here in Sydney, Australia, and it's a really beautiful day today. So welcome to the channel, and I hope you guys are doing great. Here in this channel, I like to talk about religion, and today we'll be talking about monotheism. Now, monotheism means if there is God, there is only one God, which is a fair point. And this idea is predominantly espoused, predominantly proposed by the Abrahamic faiths, right? Christianity, like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, it all sounds good, but there is a little caveat that is what we would like to talk about today. Now, the caveat, right, the catch of monotheism comes should I say, it becomes very pronounced in Islam, should I say. Right? In Quran chapter 4, verse 48, I believe, it says that it's a sin to associate partners with Allah. Right? Also, I believe it's in Quran chapter 4, 116, verse 116, it says that it's a grave sin to associate partners with Allah. Now, deification is, right, I mean, in Islam, it's a shirk, it's a sin. Now, in Christianity, it's not as harsh. It's a little bit more relaxed, right? I mean, if you got Jesus Christ, like God the Father, God the Son. So, right, a little bit of deification. But the problem, obviously, is that this deification is only limited to Jesus Christ. You cannot go beyond Jesus Christ. Right? And then you got, right, polytheism, right? You got millions of gods and goddesses, right? In Hinduism, right? If you come to Hinduism, it says that you are God. Everything is God's manifestation. You are God. I am also God. So is a cat. So is a dog. So is a cow. Everything is God's manifestation. So this is rather a deification on a universal level. Now, Vivekananda made a very interesting point, right? He says that like personal God and impersonal God, right? Personal God, right? What Islam might be preaching, that this, like committing shirk. If you associate partners with Allah, you'll be committing shirk, you'll be committing sin. Personal God. Also in Christianity. And then you got impersonal God, right? I mean, universal God, that God exists within everything. Everything is God's manifestation, impersonal God. Now, the problem becomes with monotheism when you say that when you bring up the notion of sin, obviously, right, in Islam, in chapter 4, verse 116, is that you're committing grave sin, that Allah will pardon all the rest, right? He will pardon everything else except when you associate partners with Allah, that this is such a grave sin that Allah will not forgive you for committing this sin. That means to follow Islam, right? You have to reject. It's very explicit, it's very pronounced that you have to really reject all other gods, right? Otherwise, you'll be committing a sin that Allah will not forgive you. Allah will not forgive. So here comes the dilemma. Whether this monotheism, whether this notion of monotheism, whether this one God theory has paved the way for fanaticism. Right? If you have to reject everything else, if you have to reject all other gods and goddesses, you are talking about an extreme case, right? You are talking about, right, an extreme case, which is obviously destruction of all other gods and goddesses. And that is what we see in Islam. That Islam, when Islam expanded, it ruthlessly, take on all the other contemporary philosophies, whether it's Hinduism, whether it's Christianity, that is at odds with all the other cultures. Now, obviously, this is a problem. Like, if you live in a society that is, like, with different ideas and beliefs and different opinions, how can you create a conclusive society, an inclusive society with this notion of monotheism? Obviously, monotheism says that you have to reject it, like you are committing shirk, you are committing sin. And if you are committing sin, you have no choice but to reject it. Right? So this is where the dilemma is, the dilemma of monotheism, whether this is a problem or this is a solution. Now, Islam came as a solution, obviously, in pre-Islamic Arabia. These are pagan, polytheistic pagans. So they, like Islam says that they try to unify the society. Like Allah is the God, Muhammad is the messenger. And that sounds like an unification, but underlying that unification, underlying that facade of unification, should I say, you have this intolerance, you have this mindset of destruction, this mindset of rejection. And this rejection mindset have created intolerance, had created fanaticism in the society. That is exactly what we have seen all throughout its history. Now, Vivekananda said something really interesting, right? As different streams have their sources in different places, all mingle their water into the sea, O Lord. The same way, different men, like different paths that men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. This is what Swami Vivekananda said, right? The different paths that men take through different tendencies all lead to thee. That these are all God's path, that there is no bad, right? I mean, in Hinduism, there is no difference between good and evil. All the paths that men take through different tendencies, that they are on a journey, right? Evolution. Journey of a Pashu to Pashupati, right? Different paths that men take through different tendencies, whether it's a good tendency or a bad tendency, all lead to thee. Now, obviously, polytheism was rejected because there are so many gods and goddesses. And again, in India, if you go to India, any parts of India, you will see, right? I mean, cats, bats, all kinds of animals being worshipped. Everything is God's manifestation. Now, the question is today, if you have to live in a society that is increasingly vibrant, increasingly diverse, can you actually follow monotheism as an ideal case, as an ideal solution? Can you? Because if you have placed monotheism as an ideal, you have to obviously reject all the other paths. And who's going to decide which one is right? Right? I mean, we have seen it in history how Islam has been so violent, so brutal against all other cultures. And it's rooted in its theology. It's rooted in its monotheistic theology, not just Islam, Christianity as well. Right? Christianity is at odds with many cultures in the past. That is what we see, like when Christians came to Goa in India, right? I believe, what is his name? I forgot his name. I forgot his name. They wanted to destroy all the idols. They commanded that all the idols be, because it's idolatry, it's polytheism, is rejected in Christianity. Christianity does not propose polytheism, it proposes monotheism. So the question today obviously is whether this monotheism is a facade for fanaticism, right? Whether monotheism is a facade for fanaticism, whether this kind of ideology can create a society that is increasingly fanatic, that is increasingly intolerant. Can it fester intolerance? This is the question I want to ask. So if you are a follower of a monotheistic religion, right? If you're a follower of an Abrahamic faith, I hope that you will come up with an answer. Thank you very much, and I will catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.